All right, here we go again. I have to go get my medication for I guess it's a digestive tract infection. There's no telling how long that's been going on. So at least they were able to diagnose it with a simple blood test. I don't remember ever being told it would take a couple days for the results when I was being looked at for this thing. So it's obviously something that wasn't done in the other places. Explain things very nicely. I saw a police officer on a security detail today. I don't know if he was wearing a vest or not. Again, I can't tell you. I know he wasn't wearing the big bulky vest. He could have been wearing a soft vest. I don't know. So that's how that happens. That's why they keep me away from everyone. So I can't see for it is. So a lot of police officers have taken their own help and destroyed it. A lot of churches, same thing. So again, Mr. Jack there is somebody to be feared. I had a great relationship with our shooting instructors. I mean, it was, mano a mano. It wasn't like personal. At the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. So again, Jack's probably at that kind of mindset and level. But we have to be careful because we all do it. Again, anything I'm telling you is something that I'm most likely guilty of. And that's what the Bible's about. That's what the work of Jesus is about, that we're all guilty. Jesus even said that he was guilty to a certain degree. But what happens? We begin to move in a more spiritual manner of awareness. So we begin to realize that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. So again, the New Testament is very important. And I had a little flashback of memory, and, their spirits are around me, reminding me that when I went into basic training with that little green book, the New Testament, there was a guy in the room with me, and I can't remember if he dropped out, like right away, or was moved to another room. But I was next to this guy that was training for Special Forces. He had the end room to himself. I had the next room to myself. And, I was friendly with people, kinda. Which means I wasn't in a big room, so I didn't have a lot of camaraderie in that way. But I did have that little green book. And I spent a lot of my time reading that little green book. So it was very nice of God to put me in that environment for that. I may not have had. Well, I would have. I know. In the military, when we were in Desert Storm, Sergeant Cuevas and I, we read the Bible quite a bit. So back then I was in the Southern Baptist Church. And that's, a good thing there to do when you're confronted with combat duty, especially if you're at the spearhead of the 7th Corps. Notice, you know what I'm noticing? People are starting to drive faster around here. Now they drive fast, but now they're getting antsy about it. And the speed limits are fast. So a lot of speed limits here are definitely 45, if not 50 and above. And they're nice, like wide roads. I'm not complaining. It's just people believe that everybody has to go the speed that they want to go. And again, I think that's where we are when we're speaking about where the church is, where law enforcement is. You have to go that speed, regardless of whether it's the speed above the speed limit or not. We know it's best for you. And out of that grew the deep state. Not to say that everybody with that mentality. This is when, I'm going to stop for a second there. This is when that stomach infection really starts hitting. And I know what happened. I'll go through it in a little bit. But when I'm sitting in a car, because I'm sitting and, it starts getting active down there. But in the digestive tract. But what happened was, I think this is what happened. They gave me that Z-Pack, and that kills the good bacteria in your stomach. So even though I had it, my good bacteria was kicking its derriere, but it was still there, that's for sure. So over time, even though I was eating yogurt, it didn't keep up, and this thing erupted again. So it was, in a way, it's good because now I'm at a place where a doctor could diagnose it, and there's learning opportunities in everything. And the thing about the deep state is they blind your mind to those learning opportunities. And when I speak about the deep state, I'm speaking about Herod, I'm speaking about Pilate, speaking about everybody that's in the deep state around us today, whether it be federal, state, local, or private sector, whether it be U.S. or foreign nation. That's one of the things that I was missing that I'm picking up here more so. So the curses are being beat down, although my body has been beat down by years of being battered by the deep state through psychological warfare, surreptitious drugging, and other methods. So my mind is able to find those learning and teaching moments, because what is it good to learn and have a learning moment if you hide it under a bushel? You have to shine that light, whether people like it or not. So again, we are at a point where we live hypocrisy, and we're always pointing at everybody else's hypocrisy. But Rabbi Jesus knew he lived hypocrisy also, and he did. Look at his life; it's a learning moment there too. But with Dr. Lonsdorfer, so I look up Dr. Lonsdorfer when I'm done, or Lonsdorfer, I think he is. I look him up. I was wondering what nationality it was. That wasn't there. He just the name, and all that. So I stumbled upon this guy that's running him into the ground. Useless so-and-so. And the funny thing is, Dr. Lonsdorfer was in Arizona. And the question is, was he there when I was there? If I could have stayed in Arizona, would I have run into Dr. Lonsdorfer there? Did God have to move Dr. Lonsdorfer out of Arizona just so he could finally meet up with me? Once again, God attempting to bring that healing. Because obviously Dr. Lonsdorfer was the only one with the power that could diagnose all of this. Again, all great plans of mice, men, and God. And that's what we're dealing with. Things don't go the way they're supposed to. So the learning moment is, we have Dr. Lonsdorfer that, and this goes back to my military days where I say, okay, I got the worst troop in the world right there. Everybody knows that, right? Because we say it all day long. That's the worst troop. That's the worst guy here. That's the worst soldier. And, well, that's the guy that saves your life. So that's a learning moment to what's actually going on. But as I always tell you, all of what I'm saying is thrown out the window when we're stuck in with Herod, Pilate, and the deep state. God told me when I woke up, they know not what they do, but they know that they're doing evil, to help round out what was said. You said they know not what they do. Of course, they're so ignorant, they don't understand the total ramifications of their action for all time. You can't change. You can't go back. You cause people to be blinded spiritually, and they're lost. Your will does such things. So again, the idea of secondary gains from bad things, so we have to be careful about wanting to have the ability to take somebody out, not to carry the gun. Carrying a pistol, got to be safe. But you don't will up. They call it willing up. All these terms were foreign to me. And I woke up, God was revealing the language of seeing and other things. So we don't want to will up somebody to come into our church so we can test our ability to stop that person. The perfect world is Barney 5. Now, I'm not telling you not to load your gun. I've told you this before. But that's what you should want to be. You should want all interaction of a well nature. Sometimes we get stuck in this mind that if I don't have to pull out my... This guy's going really fast. I don't have to pull out my pistol and I don't get an opportunity to shoot somebody, then I haven't lived as a police officer. Or I'm not famous as a police officer or an investigator or something like that. Or even somebody that's carrying in a church or something like that. So we have to be careful of our minds. Because we wrestle not against flesh and blood. We have to make sure we're not the thing we're wrestling against. Let be everyone else. And I don't say that in a touchy-feely, devoid of reality nature. There's a lot of ignorance in the world. There was a lot of ignorance when Jesus came. A lot of ignorance when Moses was here. There will always be ignorance upon this planet. This is not the Garden of Eden here. God made that clear when I woke up. Sometime in 2004, 2005. This is not the garden. This is the place where Adam and Eve fell to. And most likely the place that caused them to fall while they were in the garden. It penetrated into the garden. Remember, God's ways are higher. The way that God figures all that is happening is based upon God's higher ways. If you even had a clue, now I'm going to sound biblical. If you even had a clue of what spiritually God has had me do, and I can't take any credit. I have no power. I have no grace. I have no belief. I have no faith. I have God. But if you understand what God has had me do, it defies why God would choose one person to work all the spiritual work that God has had me work. God told me, I love you, but I can't give you anything on this planet but this spiritual power and spiritual awareness. This is not my planet. But I can give you all the spiritual knowledge and all the spiritual power in the world. I have to go in here and get my stuff. So praise God in all that you do. Praise God.